Okay.
Yay, Nana. Sí. Sí, Nana.
¿Sí?
Sí.
¿Verdad? Se miran ricos.
Okay, now just place it down. Nana. That's for the dog.
All right. We good? Comfortable?
Yeah. Oh my God. I was like, I haven't done my hair. I've been writing.
No, I love the fresh face. I sometimes do that for social media. I'm like, oh, screw it, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so I was thinking about this, I think earlier today and earlier this week. I think this is gonna mirror a little bit of like our original conversation a little while back. I did finish watching Nana Carmen, which is on We Are Me Too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So for people that don't know, I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of give like you an introduction. Um, this is Kaila Gutierrez, director of Nana Carmen, also director of the project High Beam, which is both of them are out now already. You can find Nana Carmen on We Are Me Too. And tell me where we can find High Beam.
So High Beam is not out yet. That one I just finished making. We had a special screening at La Leaf,
Mhm.
and I'm currently submitting to festivals, so hopefully we get to see it somewhere soon.
Awesome. Um, and I hope that I know you sent me a link, so I hope to catch and and screen and view High Beam soon so I can like share it with everyone and share some like thoughts. But I really wanted to like kind of pick your brain on Nana Carmen because I finally got the chance to watch it and I don't know, like so just quietly impressed, like one of those when I finished watching it, I was like, this is something that's like so beautiful and so pure, but at the same time, like it takes you through so many emotions in
Yeah.
such a short period of time. And I really wanted to like sit down and chat with you about the project because honestly, I think I'm experiencing like secondhand pride because it was so beautiful. And why don't you just tell us a little bit about the project and like how it came about and where you are with it right now, what your plans are?
Yeah, so I made Nana Carmen with the Meet the Walmart Filmmaker Mentorship Program. Um, I wrote the script in 2 days. So it was very fast. I mean, we had like a week of like rewrites. But it was like a very fast, like I was working on like so many applications at that time, and this one came up, and so I was like, okay, like let me like write something really quick for this. And I always wanted to tell the story of like my nana. And I had a previous idea from like years before of like a college version of me talking to my nana because she had Alzheimer's. But when I was writing it, I was like, this doesn't feel right. And so I thought back to my favorite memory of her, which was when she came to babysit me. It was just us two because I have an older sister and like I have a big family, but it was just us two, and I only spoke English, she only spoke Spanish, and I just kind of pulled from that memory. So I would always get upset when she would come over because she would put on telenovelas and it would interrupt my TV. So I was always so upset. And then we we tried to play a card game, and like so like that moment was pretty real, although that game was Guess Who. I was trying to teach her how to play Guess Who, so like that
Yeah.
happened. And then she did eat dog food.
Oh my God.
But she didn't get mad at me like in the film, so like that
Yeah.
was definitely dramatized. But I think reflecting on that memory, because I was like, why was this memory so meaningful to me?
Mhm.
And I think it was a moment where like, yeah, we didn't speak the same language, but like she genuinely tried to connect with me, you know?
Yeah.
Like she
Yeah.
could have sat and watched TV the whole time and like told me to like fuck off. Like in a nice way. But no, like she genuinely like tried to connect with me, and like, you know, we found this way of like talking to each other even though it wasn't like language. And my mom would always say like we would talk to each other, but we are having two separate conversations. And so like I would try to talk, but like I was, who knows what I thought she said.
Yeah, that was one of the funniest part of like the entire short film was like the conversation, you
Yeah.
know, of, like one speaking in like Spanish and the other one speaking in English, and like half of the translation was wrong, but then like when it came down to the important parts of like the drama in the telenovela, you,
Yeah.
they connected, like they understood, right? Like,
Mhm.
ooh, this is the part, you know, this is the drama. And I was just like, that is so hilarious because I've seen that in action and it's just the funniest thing ever, you know.
Yeah.
One of my older nephews, like he's struggled to learn how to speak Spanish.
Mhm.
And so like, and his grandpa doesn't know any English at all. And so we tease him a lot because it's like, boy, like, how do you guys even like spend an entire day together? And he's like,
Yeah.
well, I just talk English and he just talks Spanish and we figure it out. And I'm like, your house over at your dad's must be like a comedy of errors the entire
Yeah.
time. And I just love the film for that reason. I think my favorite scene, like part of the film was the cookie jar. Um, it's just like the most hilarious thing ever, but at the same time, you get that like terrible cringe moment
Yeah.
because, you know, the acting in that, you know, on the grandmother's part, um, was just like, you know, as a viewer, you could feel the child's terror at her anger, you know, when she realizes what she's actually eating. And
Yeah.
so I was like, oh my God, I laughed, you know, I laughed at like you know, what was happening to her. And it's just so hard to like not feel that moment of cringe, like, ooh, you know, I'm laughing at something I thought was funny, but for the other person was like not a pleasant experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and you know what? I've actually also seen that happen to people though, at like Petco.
I almost did it. I went back home and we had like these like dog treats, and I was like, "Oh, what is this?" I was like, "Not me almost eating
Well,
it."
they put them in the little baggie at Petco, and
Yeah.
if you don't know, and you just pick one up from a kitchen, it's like you're eating, you know, uh, dog treats, but they're surprisingly actually really good. So,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, anyways, that was like the most hilarious thing ever. And I felt so many emotions at the same time. What was like your inspiration for directing something like that? Like, what were your thoughts like trying to catch that moment?
Yeah, so with this one, the way we kind of looked at it was all through the lens of a little girl, you know? So
Mhm.
it was through the lens of her, and so we wanted to keep things like a little bit more whimsical. So kind of like leaving everything a little grounded. So we did a lot of like we kept the camera. I don't think we ever really go like above her eye line. Like we
No.
always stay pretty low and like kind of looking up, and then we use this like nearly a fisheye lens, like it was like a really wide lens to give that like sense of like overwhelming her.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
when you're younger, you know, like and like they go in for like a hug or a kiss or like it feels like it's smothering you. And so we definitely leaned into like how would a little kid perceive this.
Yeah.
And so when filming that moment, you know, we wanted to capture like, you know, like a couple different things. So we started off like a little wider, and then like we getting closer and closer. So like the close-up moment is like when she's actually eating it. And we did a couple different like takes of that. And then we wanted to switch it up for when like Nana yells at her,
Mhm.
because for that one we kind of go back into this like wider but a little bit more like super wide lens, like where it kind of like distorts the edges a little bit.
Yeah.
And so she gets in your face in a different way. So like we wanted it a little bit more wider to show like the characters are starting to like disconnect, because visually throughout the film, we keep them separate.
Mhm.
So they have each like clean shots on them, and
Yeah.
then as they're starting to connect, that's when they actually enter the frame together. So
Yeah.
when they're at the dining table, that's when we start to do more like two shots, even though they're like on the opposite ends of the frame, and then our ending shot, like they're literally sitting right next to each other. And
It's
so
so, yeah, it's so interesting how, you're even the use of the camera and the way that you use the camera to tell the story really informs, what we're feeling as viewers and the what the characters are experiencing. And it's you do such a great job of integrating the camera use in how the story develops, because that is something that I did notice. I noticed that like they were in their own like little worlds, completely disconnected from each other. And the positions of the camera kind of like revealed that. And when you're telling the story from the child's point of view, it was super obvious that we're looking up at this person that, is older and much more imposing. And like, definitely, I could feel that sense of like, terror and vertigo all at once with the position of the camera looking up at the grandma when she's upset. And, I thought like that was so impactful. And that starts to shift in such a subtle way towards the end when they're sitting together watching the telenovela together.
yeah.
They both finally like found their way into the shot together. And I thought that was such a like a brilliant use of camera, like to tell the narrative. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, and like super glad that we're sitting down and talking a little bit about it because, towards the end, one of the like more memorable shots was like when they're both on the couch watching the telenovela together and
Mhm.
they're having that moment of like two completely different conversations.
Yeah.
And I thought this is hilarious because I feel like the couch is acting like a bridge for both of them before the mom walks in.
Yeah.
And the mom seems to be like the one character that like bridges everything the viewer is going through, you
Mhm.
know. Is there a backstory to like the family that you created in this film?
I just kind of pulled from like my own family really. And so with the mom, so I named her Yuri and I actually named her after one of my cousins. Because I have this cousin who used to babysit me a lot. And so
Uh-huh.
like when I like do my character names, I low key just look at my like phone contact list. And I'm just like, well, that name works. Um, but for the mom, because like the kind of backstory for her was like, oh, she's the one who could speak English and Spanish. And
Yeah,
so like really like she's the mix of both. But I kind of wanted to make her the more like grounded person because I think with her, we can kind of see how like she's the more grounded one versus like Nana and Elena, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And like um and so with those two characters, so with Nana and Elena, I wanted them to be different but the same. So they both dress very quirky.
Mhm.
Like Nana has like a cricket beanie, like floral print, and she holds on to a little bit more of the feminine. Whereas Elena, our little girl, she's like a little bit more tomboy, but like, she's wearing like mixed match things. She has these little like wristbands on her, like all her jewelry. So I wanted them both to have their very like funky styles.
Yeah,
Um, and so even though they feel very different, like they're essentially the same person. And so I think with the mom character, she's the more like she's the person to kind of like separate from that.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, honestly, I just pulled from like Nana is like a very is a version of my Nana. My Nana's a little different. But I think with my Nana, from what I remember of her, she's like, she like always did whatever she wanted. She wasn't afraid to be like, what? But like she wasn't necessarily like the, oh, I'm gonna bake you cookies, sweetie, kind of like grandma, but she was a nana. Like that's how like, she had her own little spunk to her. And so I just kind of used this sense of like what I remember like growing up, the women in my family to be like, and I just kind of like blended it all in.
Yeah, and I was like kind of really paying attention to the Nana character because that beanie was really like, I don't know, I thought it was like a perfect touch of a comedy in every single shot. And I was like, where did this grandma come from? Like, it reminded me of like like the grandmas that used to hang out at like what's that festival? Woodstock? Woodstock and smoke a lot of pot back in the days and then was reformed.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so I thought, oh my goodness, this is so funny. But yeah, like I was, there's just so much like storytelling behind like the family setup and like I did not even notice really like I think it kind of feels so natural to go in and like but when you start to like really I don't want to overanalyze the film either, right? Because I don't want to commit that sin. But like when you start looking at like the grandma coming in and like taking over babysitting and the mom is leaving to go to work and as a viewer, I had a moment where I was like, wow, it's so common now to see the single mother like using her community resources to babysit and it seems so natural for us for the grandmother to step in and like babysit but they do seem to be like complete strangers getting to know each other in this film and so I asked myself with that like detail even though it's so natural for us to kind of assume that that situation for a woman is so normal to be like a single mom and then have to rely on family members. Um, it's not really talked about explicitly in the film, but it's kind of like understood, you know? And that kind of storytelling really just intrigues me because it's the entire like beginning setup. You just kind of understand it. Um, So part of it, like, I think when we had our discussion, our little like chat before, I think we ended up like talking a little bit about these different situations that women find themselves, right? Like as girlfriends, as mothers, as wives, sisters, you name it. There's just so much going on right now in terms of like relationships and the community, the way that we like access our community and just share what's really going on, with us women. And, you know, with that being said, how did you kind of how did your life and your point of view on like the issues that women face in our community related to like our sex and gender, how did that inform like the way that you directed this film, especially because all the characters here are women at different facets of their life, you know? Um, the child is just barely kind of like getting an image of like the world and romance through the telenovelas and all this drama. And so she's like barely learning. The mom is in like a very difficult situation that clearly it's in the background. And to some point, like she's the reality, right? Like you were saying. But then there's like the grandma who's like lived it, seen it, probably is like, I'm over it.
She's doing her own thing.
Yeah, she's like obviously in her, own little world. That beanie tells the history there. Um, like going into directing something like this, like how does your own personal life and your own point of view on like the feminist issues of our community like inform when you're directing something like this?
Yeah, so it's so funny. In all my films, so my parents are together, but in all my films, I usually
Awesome.
have like one or the other. And
Yeah.
honestly, I do that because I don't want to deal with another character. I do that in all my films. Like I'll only have them very briefly mention like the other parent.
Uh-huh.
And so in this one, the Nana, it's like super fast and like you can't really hear it too well, but like the Nana makes a quick remark. She's like, "Oh, where's your dad? Is he at work again?"
Oh, I missed that part.
Yeah, it's super fast. Like, it's like her big like ramble. Um,
Uh-huh.
but the for me, I kind of approached it as like because like for me, my dad was going off to work, so he was
Okay.
leaving every day at 4 a.m. And
Yeah.
so he was gone, like he was working. And so for me, like I spent like the mornings with my mom and then like the evenings with my dad because they had like this split work schedule. But I kind of approached it and like I kind of do this in a lot of my films now that I think about it, where it's like I only really have like one parent there, and which was interesting because I feel like growing up, like I saw one parent at a time. Um, because they're always working, like they're always working and like work for them is like the big thing. Like they didn't work the 9 to 5 or like my
Yeah.
mom's a gymnastics coach and so like she worked evenings. And
Mhm.
so um yeah, it's interesting because I'm like I get asked that a lot in like my films. They're like, oh, like the single parent, but I'm like, no, I just don't want to deal with the other
I
care.
totally thought they were divorced.
No, I get that a lot. I get that a lot. But I do think with the sense of like families, especially like immigrant families and having to like because they weren't dropping me off at like daycare or like some like fancy little school kind of thing. Like I was staying with family. Like we would stay with family. And even then, like my parents were very picky about like which family members I would stay with. Like my nana only really babysat me like that like once. That was the one time my nana came
Yeah.
to like babysit just me. Um and so it was kind of like a situation where it's like everyone is gone. Who are you left with? And it's like here's Nana.
You won the lottery today.
Yeah. Yeah. And so she was her own little character in herself. but um but it's kind of like those situations of just like having to deal with like so much, like when you're a family and it's like how do I provide for my family, but how do I also take care of my family? And so it's a lot of these oh wait, let me turn off my notifications. I was like, not me dinging. um but it's just I think I approached it like that's kind of the world I know, and so that tends to come out. And so I think with this one, like I did want to focus on like the generations of women. And so like when I'm writing films about like women, I'm like, I'm not gonna have a man in this. And so I like think of like little ways to just kind of like, no, okay, let me put them over there. But with the different generations,
Honorable mention.
yeah, honorable mention dad and like a quick mention of sister. um but yeah, with the generations, I do think there's like an interesting because like I'm like I'm like second gen because although my nana was born in the States, she like lived in Mexico. And then my mom was born in Mexico, and then like they would kind of come back and forth because my family were like farmers, and so they're always up and down California and Mexico. But I kind of see this as like a generational thing of like, oh, like you have like your OG Nana, and then like the bridge, which is someone who kind of experienced like both worlds,
Yeah.
uh, and then the person who's like new, especially in the States, like the new generation, the new life. And I think that really comes out with like the television of it all. Because like, for me, I was in there, I wasn't watching like telenovelas, I was watching Disney Channel. I was watching superhero stuff, I was
Yeah.
watching like American Kid TV, and like Nana comes in and she's watching telenovelas. So I feel like this sense of like generations, but also like American is kind of being expressed through like the TV and what's that battle and what's that like matching ground. Because I feel like we often do have this like oh, you're Mexican American. Oh, but are you Mexican Mexican? And like all of this. And so I think, yeah, I just kind of wanted to explore that, but like I didn't really necessarily think about the grandness of all of that. I just kind of kept it like like for what I knew was like, oh, English, Spanish, and like I think keeping it to that and like keeping it a little bit more focused, you're able to kind of tell like stories of like grander things. Um, but yeah, I think writing this and just working on this definitely gave me like a different perspective of my nana. And because growing up I never really felt like super close to her because we couldn't
Yeah,
really talk. And
yeah,
I think working on this I was able to realize like, oh, we're like a lot the same. Like even though she was older, lived a life, and I was just a little kid, what do we both want to do? Watch TV. And
yeah.
so um it was just a nice way of kind of me realizing through this film of like, oh, we aren't so different. And so yeah.
I thought, I'm definitely going to rewatch the film now because I missed that detail. And um and everything happens so quickly. Like you know how when parents are rushing and like they're just like, okay, here's your grandma, here's whoever, I'm off. Like, and you get caught up in that moment. And so when I'm watching, I'm thinking like I miss that part of like, where's the dad part? And yet somehow like part of this situation still translated to like this is what a lot of us face when,
Yeah.
we're have to like we're switching shifts, we're switching shifts to take care of the family members and like to support each other in ways that we in whatever way we can. And it seems so normal to like watch this entire like introduction, the mom taking off. I definitely understand that part of like you literally don't see some like I totally understand that part of like you probably like you don't see one parent like half the day and then you see the other parent the other half. In our household it was like we literally never saw our dad except on like weekends.
Yeah.
He would wake up super early. Sometimes we would hear him getting ready to leave. But he would get up and leave by like 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then he wouldn't get back sometimes till like 10, 11. By that point, that was our curfew.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just a reality of like kind of our household. So it was like literally we just saw you the weekend. That was it. Um, and but these like community situations just really translate to film. And I love how, this the inspiration with your grandmother worked for this situation. So I think that so many, you know, of us kind of have lived that situation and we're able to like enjoy great relationships with at least one grandparent that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm definitely going to rewatch for detail. And I think definitely anybody that's watching this and like interested in watching the film, I would recommend watching it a few times because I think, those are the details that we live for in film.
Mhm.
I believe we only have about 10 minutes left. So I want to make sure like I get a few more questions in.
Mhm.
Um, so tell us about High Beam. I unfortunately have not caught the film quite yet, and I hope that if you release it and I have a chance to catch it at a film festival, I'm able to. But tell us a little bit about High Beam and like your future projects. What's going on with you? What do you like? What's your goal? What are you aiming for?
Yeah, so High Being is a sports drama with a little bit of a
Yeah.
nightmare part. So a little scary moment. That's not too scary. But it's about this young girl who's trying to make the gymnastics team in order to impress her mom, and her mom's the coach. So that one's kind of again more like very like female relationships, but very much tackling on the themes of perfectionism. Um, and just kind of like, I tackling on through the world of gymnastics, but it's like, what does it mean to chase perfectionism and when you feel like you're not that? And like the feeling of like constantly comparing yourself to others, feeling like everyone is so much better than you. And, you know, just like the stress and the anxiety that it puts on you. So that one was made with the LFI Inclusion Program, sponsored by like the Netflix Creative Fund. So that one was a really fun project to work on. Doing a sports film was very challenging, but like so freeing and so fun. So I definitely pushed myself like stylistically, like tonally with this one. This one's High Beam's a little bit more like ground where like Nana Carmen's quirky and like silly and fun, and like High Beam's a little bit more grounded and tense. So whenever people watch both of them, they're like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, they're very different films. They're very different. But I like that, like having that like range. And you know, like trying to get a little bit more like leaning into the camera of like how can we emphasize this feeling still, you know, like a little girl perspective and like but
Yeah.
a lot more dense. And what I'm working on right now, I'm writing a feature, so I'm like, that's why I look like this. I've been writing a feature, and I'm actually doing this like challenge I saw from this TikTok creator. And it's like writing a feature in 30 days. And so I've been very like focused on that. So I'm trying to get that feature going. And then yeah, I'm just working. Hopefully, Hyping will play at a festival nearby and just working on the next thing. And you know, the goal is to try to get more like professional for hire work. And yeah, trying to make it into the big girl world of directing.
I think you already there, girl. I like am so impressed. I did catch the trailer for High Beam and I was like, I can't wait to watch this because the tone of it definitely feels different. And even just like parts of like the gymnastics, you know, it's already like anxiety inducing what they have to learn. And you just imagine the worst, you know. So I can't wait to see it and I can't wait to like, you know, be spooked by you. And yeah, and I hope that you are able to like finish your feature because I can't wait to see what else that you will bring out like into the world in terms of projects. Um I think that like, you know, when I like sort of network with people and I try to like like contact my friends and like or have contact with friends, and I feel like one of the things that I work on is feeling like maybe I have nothing to bring to the table. And so one of the things that I've been working on has been the YouTube channel or channels. And so, and this is advice that I got from someone that mentored me a while back, was like find a way to bring value to the person's life. You know, that really is the one thing that you can do. And it really changed my mindset in regards to like networking and like building my career and building on projects that I believe in. And I thought that was such a brilliant mindset shift because a lot of us are often really concerned with like, you know, I have to network to like find the opportunity, rather the opportunity already exists within ourselves, you know, and kind of networking should be a way of like highlighting what we love together. And I think
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of film. And you know, the reason why I kind of fell in love with Nana Carmen was because during the weekends, I would go with my grandmother, my mother's mother, and we always watched movies and we always watched the X-Files. I don't know if I told you that. I don't know if I told you that in our meeting, but it touched me so much. And that's really where my love of like film and media was born. And I've carried that my entire life. Why I love adaptations of novels and like short stories. And so I thought, like, I'm not going to let this opportunity with Kaila go by without doing an interview with her and kind of really connecting with her through that, because this film really touched me on that. And, you know, my grandma passed away a few years ago. So it meant so much to me on that level. And so I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk about it and have this go on YouTube. So I hope, you know, you don't mind that. And I hope that like you don't mind that I like bring attention to the work. So yeah.
Yeah, no, of course. I'm always happy to talk about like the films, and I think the best thing that's come from like Nana Carmen is just like I love when people tell me their stories about their nanas. And like just to bring like this memory was so special to me, and
Yeah.
I feel like it can live forever on through this film. And I feel like bringing that moment of like remembering someone through this film, like everyone thinks about their grandmas, and like that means a lot to me just to like spark that memory and like keep them in their hearts.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I think we're running out of time with this
Yeah.
like Zoom. I don't want to take any more time from you to finish your feature film.
Thanks.
Everybody stay tuned and catch that. I will stay in touch with you and I will send you like a link so you can share this interview with like all your friends and your contacts. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
love. I
thank
appreciate it.
you. Bye. I'm like
Bye.
bye.
Where strong girls at? We're training to become what? And to do so, we have